If life came with a warning label, what would yours say? Would it say, slow down, time is running out, or maybe pay attention to what really matters? The truth is, most of us never stop to think about these questions until life forces us to. And here's the scary part. People don't usually learn their most important life lessons in a classroom or at a seminar. They learn them in hospital rooms, in lawyers' offices, at funerals. Moments where it's already too late to make the changes they wish they'd made sooner. I don't want that for you. And that's why today I want to share with you 5 powerful life lessons, and more importantly, quick, practical actions you can take right now to avoid the kind of regrets that keep people awake at night. These aren't vague motivational quotes. They're insights pulled from long-term happiness research, the wisdom of those nearing the end of life, and real stories from people who've lived through hard-earned truths. Because here's the thing. Knowing these lessons before life hits you with a wake-up call can completely change the way you live. They can help you stop wasting time on the wrong things, strengthen the relationships that actually matter, take better care of your health, and find a sense of purpose and joy you don't have to wait for someday to feel. And I'm not here to overwhelm you with a giant to-do list. Each lesson comes with a simple, doable step you can start today. Something that won't take over your life, but will help you steer it in the right direction. So if you've ever caught yourself thinking, I'll get to that later, or I'll focus on what matters once things settle down, this video is your wake-up call. Because here's the truth, later is not promised. And the sooner you start, the more of your life you actually get to live on your own terms. By the end of this video, you'll not only know the 5 lessons people most often wish they'd learned sooner, you'll also have the tools to start living them now, without waiting for life to push you into a corner. So let's dive in. Because the clock is ticking, and you have more power over your story than you realize. Let's start with the one truth that, if you fully understand, it can change your entire life. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. We say it all the time, like it's just a nice quote. But I want you to really think about it. Every single person, no matter how rich or successful, gets the same 24 hours in a day. But here's the thing, how you spend your attention inside those hours is what shapes your days and your life. The problem, most people give away their attention like it's free, saying yes to every request, every meeting, every notification. Before they know it, they're living on autopilot, going from email to meeting, from text messages to social media scrolling without ever asking, is this how I actually want to spend my time? I know this because I've seen it happen to people who thought they were doing everything right. Let me share a story. There was a man who had been working for years toward a big promotion. It finally came along with a huge raise. But that same week, his daughter had her school recital. He missed it because of an urgent work dinner with a potential client. The deal went through. The company was thrilled. And on paper, it looked like a win. But years later, when he talked about it, you know what? He remembered. Not the promotion, not the dinner, not even the client's name. What stayed with him was the image of his daughter on stage, scanning the audience for him, and not finding him there. That moment, that absence, hurt far more than any amount of money could ever fix. That's the thing about time. It's not just hours, it's moments. And moments once gone can never be bought back. You can't rewind and attend that recital. You can't relive a family dinner you skipped. You can't redo a conversation you put off until later. So here's the question. If your time is truly more valuable than your money, why are you protecting your bank account more fiercely than your calendar? I want you to try something radical this week. Calendar your values. Look at your week ahead and block out non-negotiable time for what matters most: family, health, and deep-focused work that actually moves your life forward. Treat those blocks like meetings with your most important client, because they are. If family time is important, put it in your calendar before anything else. If exercise matters, block it in before your inbox. If you've been meaning to work on a personal project, schedule it before you say yes to yet another meeting that drains you. And here's something that might feel uncomfortable, but is absolutely necessary. Create a stop doing list. Every week, write down one thing that's draining your time and energy without giving you anything meaningful back, and commit to cutting it. That could be a recurring meeting you don't actually need to be in, a social media app that eats an hour a day, or a habit of saying yes to favors that leave you resentful. This is where a lot of people push back. They say, "But I don't have control over my time. It's my boss, my family, my responsibilities." And yes, some parts of your schedule are non-negotiable. But the truth is, most people have more control than they think. They just haven't practiced using it. Here's an example. If you cut out just 1 hour of low-value activity each day, whether that's mindless scrolling, checking your inbox for the 10th time, or watching a show you don't even enjoy, you get back 365 hours a year. That's over 9 40-hour work weeks you could be using for something that actually matters to you. And I'll tell you something else. When you start protecting your time, you start protecting your attention. And your attention is the most valuable currency you have. Because wherever your attention goes, your life follows. Think about the people you admire, not just for their success, but for the way they live. Chances are they're intentional with their time. They're not constantly reacting to every ping and buzz. They're focused. They're present. They've learned that attention once scattered is hard to pull back together. If you remember one thing from this lesson, make it this: you can replace your income, but you cannot replace your moments. The dinner with your parents while they're still healthy. The conversation with your kid when they're still eager to tell you everything. The quiet walk with your partner where you finally feel at peace. Those are priceless, and they will only happen if you make space for them. So here's your challenge for today. Open your calendar. Add one non-negotiable block this week for something that truly matters to you. Write down one thing you'll stop doing starting today, something that drains your time without adding value. Then guard those changes like your future depends on it, because in a very real way, it does. If you ask people in their 80s or 90s what truly mattered in the long run, you'll notice something very few will tell you. It was their job title, the size of their house, or the number of awards they won. Instead, they talk about people, about laughter around a dinner table, about someone holding their hand in the hospital, about the moments when they felt truly seen, loved, and connected. That's not just sentimental, it's backed by science. The longest-running study on happiness, conducted by Harvard for over 80 years, found one thing above all else: predicts long-term happiness and even physical health, the quality of your relationships. Not your bank account, not your status, your relationships. And yet most of us treat relationships like they'll take care of themselves. We say, "I'll call them when things calm down." But here's the problem. Life rarely calms down. Weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and sometimes decades pass before you realize how much time you've lost. I'll never forget the story of two old high school teammates, let's call them Mark and Dave. They used to be inseparable, always grabbing lunch after practice, talking about life. But after graduation, life took them in different directions. They kept saying we should catch up soon. But soon never came. 30 years later, they finally saw each other again, at a funeral. Standing there, they both realized how many laughs, how many stories, how many moments they'd missed because they thought there would always be more time. Here's the truth. Relationships are like compound interest. The more you invest, the more they grow, and the more they give back to you over time. But if you neglect them, they slowly wither until one day there's nothing left to revive. So how do you make sure you're building relationship capital instead of letting it erode? You don't wait for someday. You create systems to make connection a habit, not an afterthought. One of my favorite tools for this is what I call the 2-2-2 rule. Text a friend every 2 days. It doesn't have to be long, just, "Hey, thought of you today," is enough. Call someone every 2 weeks. A real voice-to-voice conversation can keep bonds alive in a way texting can't. Meet up every 2 months. It could be coffee, a walk, or a meal, phones off, full presence. You can adapt the timing to your life. But the point is to make it intentional. Put it in your calendar like you would a business meeting, because your relationships are more valuable than any deal you'll ever close. And here's another tip: create a standing connection. That means a recurring dinner, coffee, or walk with someone you care about at the same time and day each month. No constant scheduling battles, no "let's figure it out later." You just show up. And when you do leave your phone in your pocket, be there fully. Some people might hear this and think that sounds like work. But here's the thing. When you look back at your life, you won't wish you'd spent more time at work. You'll wish you'd spent more time with the people who mattered. And if you're thinking, "I've already let too much time pass," it's never too late to start. Send the message. Make the call. Plan the coffee. Sometimes one small gesture is all it takes to reopen a door you thought was closed forever. Because in the end, no matter how impressive your achievements are, it's the people you share them with that make them worth remembering. So here's your challenge for today. Pick one person you've lost touch with and send them a short message right now. Put at least one in-person meetup in your calendar for the next 60 days. Try the 2-2-2 rule for 1 month and see how much richer your life feels. When you do, you're not just maintaining friendships, you're compounding them into something priceless. And trust me, your future self will thank you. If there's one thing we tend to realize too late, it's this: your health is not an upgrade you add on after everything else. It's the foundation that supports everything you do. Your energy, your mood, your focus, your ability to show up for the people and projects you care about. All of it flows from your health, and when you neglect it, the problems don't just show up overnight. They build slowly, quietly, and then hit all at once, often at the worst possible time. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this from people in their later years. "I wish I had walked more. I wish I had eaten better. I wish I had managed my stress." There's a weight in those words, because they know those choices could have given them more years, and more importantly, better years. The most common mistake: believing "I'll get healthy later." Later when work slows down. Later when the kids are grown. Later when you have more time. But here's the hard truth: later arrives with interest. Every skipped workout, every week of poor sleep, every year of putting stress management at the bottom of your list. It all adds up. And by the time you finally decide to get healthy, you may be starting from a place where the climb back is steep and painful. Think about it. What's the point of building wealth, status, or even a legacy if you're too tired, too sick, or too stressed to enjoy it? Longevity isn't just about living longer, it's about living better for longer. The good news: you don't need to turn your life upside down to start taking care of your health. Small, consistent habits can transform your future. Here are 2 simple but powerful steps you can start today. Move your body for 20-30 minutes a day. You don't have to run marathons. Walk around your neighborhood. Do some light stretching or yoga. Play with your kids or grandkids. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be consistent. Stick to a consistent sleep window. Your body loves rhythm. Going to bed And waking up at roughly the same time each day can boost your energy, sharpen your mind, and stabilize your mood more than any energy drink ever could. When it comes to food, aim for mostly whole, unprocessed ingredients. That doesn't mean you can never have a treat. It means you fuel your body with what it actually needs most of the time, so it can take care of you in return. And here's one of my favorite stress management tools because it's so simple, you can do it anywhere: the 3-breath reset. Before a meal, before a meeting, or any time you feel tension rising, stop and take 3 slow, deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. It calms your nervous system, helps your mind refocus, and can even aid digestion if you do it before eating. Now, some people hear this and think, I don't have time. But the reality is, these small habits don't take time, they give you time. Every minute you invest in your health today can add hours, days, even years to the back end of your life. Years where you're not just alive, but active, capable, and truly enjoying the people and things you love. So here's my challenge for you. Pick one habit, just one from what I've shared, and commit to it for the next 7 days. Maybe it's the daily walk. Maybe it's going to bed at the same time. Maybe it's doing the 3-breath reset 3 times a day. Do it and see how much better you feel by the end of the week. Because at the end of your life, you won't be wishing you worked more hours or checked your email faster. You'll be wishing you had the strength, the energy, and the health to fully live the time you had. And that's something you can start building today. And let's talk about money, but not in the way you usually hear it discussed. Because here's the truth, that very few people truly live by. Wealth isn't about flashy cars, designer clothes, or impressing strangers. Real wealth is freedom over your calendar. Think about it. What's the point of earning more if it just locks you into working longer hours to maintain a lifestyle you don't even have time to enjoy? Too many people fall into the trap of lifestyle creep, and the more they make, the more they spend convincing themselves they're rewarding their hard work. But in reality, they're just buying more obligations, bigger mortgages, higher bills, more stress. And then there are those who say, I'll start investing later when I have more to put in. The problem is, later costs you the one thing money can't buy: back time. The earlier you start, the more your money can work for you quietly in the background, thanks to the power of compounding. Here's a quick mental trick that might change the way you see this: the rule of 72. Take the number 72 and divide it by your annual return rate. That's roughly how many years it takes for your money to double. So at an 8% return, your money doubles every 9 years. Start at 25. You could see it double 3, maybe even 4 times before you retire. Start at 45, you might get 1 doubling if you're lucky. This is why starting early, even with small amounts, beats starting late with big amounts. Because the real secret is time in the market, not timing the market. But money isn't just for one day in retirement. It can be used to buy freedom now. Freedom to take that trip without stressing over bills. Freedom to work fewer hours so you can spend more time with your kids. Freedom to say no to a toxic client or boss because you have a safety net. That's the kind of wealth that matters. So how do you actually make your money buy time instead of stress? Here are 2 steps to start with. Step 1, pay yourself first. Before you pay bills, before you spend on anything else, set aside 10 to 15% of your income and automate it into a broad index fund or retirement account. If you wait to see what's left at the end of the month, there will never be anything left. By paying yourself first, you make investing non-negotiable. Pair that with an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, so you're not forced into debt when life throws you a curveball. Step 2, practice the 30-day wait rule. Before making any big purchase, wait 30 days. If you still want it and it still makes sense for your priorities, go for it. But you'd be surprised how often the impulse fades and you've just saved yourself hundreds or thousands of dollars. While you're at it, kill at least 1 recurring expense today. that you're not using or don't value. That's money you can redirect into buying back your time. Now, some people might be thinking, this sounds restrictive. I work hard, I want to enjoy my money. And you should. But enjoying your money doesn't have to mean spending it all right now. It means using it in a way that creates both present joy and future security. It's not about living like a monk. It's about making sure your spending aligns with your values and long-term goals. Here's the personal test I use before buying something. I ask, will this add lasting value to my life? Or will it just add more work to pay for it? If it's the latter, I pass. Because in the end, no one looks back and says, I'm glad I bought that expensive thing I didn't need. But they do look back and say, I'm glad I had the freedom to take my kids to school every morning, or I'm glad I could retire early and spend my best years traveling, not working. So here's your challenge for today. Set up an automatic transfer for 10-15% of your income into an investment account. Identify one recurring expense you can cut immediately and redirect that money toward your freedom fund. For your next major purchase, apply the 30-day wait rule and see if you still want it. The bottom line: money is a tool. Use it to buy time, not status. Because the most valuable thing you can own is control over how you spend your days, and that's something no luxury item can compete with. If there's one thing people consistently regret at the end of their lives, it's this: the words they never said. The I love you they assumed the other person already knew. The I'm sorry they kept putting off until it felt too awkward. The I forgive you they never gave, letting the silence stretch into years. We hold back because we're waiting for the perfect moment. But here's the truth: there is no perfect moment. Life is unpredictable, and the chance to speak your heart can disappear without warning. I once heard a story about two friends, let's call them Sam and Daniel, who had a falling out in their 20s over something neither could even fully remember years later. Pride kept them from reaching out. Then one day, after over a decade of no contact, Sam sent a simple text: "Hey, I've been thinking about you. I'm sorry for how things ended. I miss our friendship." Within minutes, Daniel replied, "I miss you too. Let's talk." That one message reopened a friendship they'd both quietly wished for, but never thought possible again. And it all started with someone being willing to break the silence. Here's the core truth: unspoken words often become lifelong regrets. But honest kindness, whether it's an expression of love, gratitude, or even pain, has the power to heal wounds and strengthen bonds. The mistake most of us make is thinking that by not saying anything, we're avoiding discomfort. In reality, we're just trading short-term awkwardness for long-term regret. And regret is far heavier to carry. So how do you start speaking your truth with courage and kindness? I recommend the 3-message challenge. Today, not tomorrow, send 3 messages. 1. Expressing appreciation. Tell someone what they mean to you. 1. Offering an apology. Own your part without excuses. 1. Seeking reconnection. Reach out to someone you've lost touch with, even if years have passed. If you're dealing with a deeper conflict, you can use this simple script to start the conversation. When you said, "I did X, I felt Y. Can we talk about it?" This approach is honest but non-accusatory. It opens the door without putting the other person on the defensive. You might be thinking, what if they don't respond? What if it doesn't go well? And yes, that's a possibility. But here's what I've learned: you will never regret speaking your truth with kindness. You might regret holding back forever. And here's something important: telling the truth sooner isn't just for them. It's for you. It clears the emotional clutter that keeps you stuck in the past. It frees up mental and emotional energy for the relationships and goals that matter now. Imagine if you went into tomorrow with nothing unsaid. I should have told them. weighing you down, how much lighter would you feel? How much more present could you be in your life? Your words can be the bridge between two people who've drifted apart. They can be the relief someone needs to finally heal. They can be the memory that person carries with them for the rest of their life. So here's your challenge. Before the day ends, send one message you've been avoiding. Say the thing. Don't wait for the perfect moment, create it. Because at the end of your life, you won't be wishing you'd stayed silent. You'll be grateful for every truth you had the courage to speak. You know there's a moment that comes, for almost everyone, often far too late, when they realize life was precious all along. But there's no time left to live it differently. That is the greatest regret. And my hope is that you never have to feel it. We've just walked through 5 lessons that can completely change how you live love and spend your time. But here's the thing. Knowledge means nothing without action. So before you click away, I want you to do something small but powerful. Pick one micro step from each lesson we talked about today. Not all of them. Just one from each. Then put them in your calendar right now. That's how change actually happens, not in our heads, but in our daily habits. Because here's the truth, your life won't transform because you heard these ideas. It will transform because you live them. And I want to hear from you. Which lesson hit you the hardest today? Was it about health relationships, money, courageous communication? Tell me in the comments, and more importantly, share what you're going to start this week. When you speak it out loud, you're far more likely to follow through. If this conversation resonated with you, I have another video I know you'll want to watch next. It's called 7 Regrets People Have Before They Die and How to Avoid Them. It's a powerful deep dive into the truths we often ignore until it's too late. And I'll link it right here on the screen and in the description. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Every week, we go deep into lessons like these about living with purpose, making intentional choices, and avoiding the kind of regrets that keep people awake at night. So you can live fully without waiting for a wake-up call you didn't want. Don't just watch this and move on. Choose one step. Put it in motion. Because someday when you look back, you'll be grateful you started now.